Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Honest Concepts Podcast. I hope you've had an excellent week so far. Happy Tuesday. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much. My name is Sensei Bronson Long. This is my instructor, Master Autry. Sir, I've been training martial arts with you for quite some time now.
Been a while.
Yes, sir. I did some math. In 2 years, it'll be 50% of my life I've been training martial arts.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
Pretty cool. But yeah, I've had the privilege to be able to train under you, and now I do teaching myself and teach quite a bit of martial arts now. And we got to come to a place where we get to sit down and have these conversations once a week and do different topics. So this is not just about our walk through martial arts, but more importantly, our walk through life.
And it's fun.
It's so much fun.
I enjoy it. I really do. It's I know you talked to me a couple of years ago about doing this, but no, this has been fun. I've really enjoyed it. I really have.
Yes, sir. Me too. Well, that's what's so cool about it is that when the way you lead things as a martial arts instructor is you taught so much more than just punching and kicking, throws and chokes and stuff. You really inspired people. I've met so many people that I didn't even go to school with them in your school.
Right.
I was at a Mexican restaurant one day, and somehow or another it came up in conversation. And the lady who was serving me was like, Master Autry? I said, yes. She said, he taught me when I was like 7 years old. He's such a great guy. So,
he's old now, but
so every week we have a different type of topic.
Yes, sir.
We talk about everything you could imagine, all walks of life. And we're lucky enough that sometimes some of the viewers can actually give us some ideas on some topics. And that's what happened tonight.
Absolutely.
So we want to give a loving shout out to Mr. Pool Mike and his lapdog and say thank you for today's topic. And this evening's conversation is going to be about maintaining a positive outlook.
Wow.
So this is one that I'll start off on this subject if you don't mind.
Sure.
This is one in particular that I struggle with. And I don't know why or where that is or how it comes from.
Okay.
But maintaining a positive outlook for me has never been my strong suit in life. I'm not necessarily a gray clouds and rain type of person either, but I like to consider myself honest. I like to think about, what's likely and whatever. But I will tell the truth and say that in the last month or so, I have noticed that changing a little bit. Just in the last month, really, truly. I don't know where or why this is happening to me now, but for some reason, I'm getting more feelings of everything's going to be okay. I guess I've lived long enough now to where I've seen bad things happen and good things happen.
Right.
We've seen pandemics or all sorts of things that you can possibly think of that have gone wrong and things that have gone right. And it seems that time just continues. And as time continues, I'll be here.
Sure.
And if the pattern continues, it'll get good again. So right now, I'm actually being more positive in the last month than I have maybe in my entire life. But at the same time, I'm also pursuing different things. I'm really going hard after being a full-time martial arts instructor, and editing videos is a little side gig that I'm running on right now, and things just seem to be going in that direction. Not everything fulfills. Not every line gets a fish to bite on the end of it.
Let me ask you this. The more busy that you are, the more positive are you? You feel like that's got something to do with it? Excuse me.
Yes, actually. I hadn't quite thought about that, but that's actually really funny. It's almost like the more that I'm doing, I feel like I'm just getting more progress done.
Right.
I feel like I'm being productive, and I'm like, oh, this is a good thing.
Right.
So even when something bad or wrong happens, it's not as big of a deal.
Right.
It doesn't seem like it is, at least. Because we've had major changes.
Absolutely.
After the baby was born, my wife doesn't work anymore.
Right.
And that's a major change.
Scary change.
It really is. Yeah, it is a scary change. In the first couple of months that it was like that, I did feel a little extra pressure on myself,
I'm sure you are.
You take extra jobs, you spend a little bit more time at work, you do what you feel like you have to do.
Right.
But now that I've got my feet in so many different ponds with the martial arts, my normal day job, and I'm editing videos, like I said, and a couple of little side gigs here and there, it just feels like more positive. I don't know how else to say it other than that. I really wish I had more knowledge to articulate these feelings, but it's somehow getting there. I just don't know how I got here.
And for me, it's how you approach things that matters. You have fear and you have faith. I fear I can't do something, but I have faith I can. One thing about it, that fear and faith cannot occupy the same space.
Wow.
They can't. It's either got to be fear or faith. You can't put them together. It's not going to fit in your brain. It's impossible. So the busier that you are, usually you have more faith. I know I can do it. I'm doing it. It's when you sit around and don't do much or have too much time on your hand, that's when the doubt and the fear starts coming in. And that's when you start questioning everything. You know, people come in martial arts because that's what I do a lot. And I've had guys come in, they'll come in and they'll start having doubt about the martial arts. And as an instructor, I want to find out why they don't have the same feeling they had before. They lost that feeling. They lost that joy. And a lot of times it's for their work or school or whatever. And once we find out, we kind of work with it. And a lot of times it'll come back. But when you're working and you're grown, that's totally different. It is. I mean, you know, there's been times that, I lost 10 students or 15 students when I first started. And that was half my school. I told Ms. Alter, I'm working at a restaurant, I'm waiting tables, I'm washing dishes, and I'm doing anything I can do. And, I lost 10 or 15 students. One week I sat there and I was like, hey, we got 28 students. I was bragging, I got 28 students. We're doing good. We lost 10 of them. And you talk about fear setting in.
Right.
And it was overwhelming because it took me so long to get them. But you just stay the path and do the right thing that you can do, and it'll grow. It will.
Yes, sir.
And that's the same thing with you. If you stay busy, that's the secret, I think, is staying busy.
I think you're right on that. Yeah, it's so funny. And you've told me so many times in my life that when one door closes, another door opens. And people can tell you that. And naturally, I trust the things that you say. I believe you know what you're talking about. I don't think you'd steer me wrong. But it's hard to feel to understand.
Right.
You have to feel it to understand it. And it's, almost 3 decades now on Earth. And so it's like, I'm starting to kind of see what he's talking about here. It seems that whatever happens, a way is always provided somewhere or another.
Right.
If one door closes, it's no fun at the time, but it's like my mindset has changed on this, that I don't get so upset about a door closing anymore because I know that another one's going to open.
We have more confidence in yourself too.
That's true too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
When you first start out doing anything, let's say you're just okay at it, not really great at it or good at it. You're just okay at doing something. Confidence starts sliding down. But when you start getting confidence in yourself, you're like, you know what? I know these techniques. All I got to do is get 2 kids in there. I'll turn it into 4 or 6 or 8. But in the beginning, you're like, man, I'm not really sure how to do this choke or this lock or this. Wow. And then you start doubting that. And then students come in, you have doubt in yourself.
It's true.
But once you start getting that experience, which you're a very experienced martial artist. And now that you have that experience and you've got a couple of black belts under your belt, 3, right?
One in particular. I've got 2 browns.
Okay. All right. So you've got the black belts under your belt now. So the thing is, you've got experience in the martial arts. Now you just got, that's one step. The next step is taking care of the students and getting them in and keeping them. And you won't have a problem keeping them because you're a good martial artist and you're a good person. And that's what people look for.
You're right.
You're concerned about them.
Yes,
if people know that you're concerned about them and they really genuinely care about them, and you are a good teacher or a good instructor, then they'll stay because they want to belong to that.
Yes, sir.
They have that feeling.
Right.
I've seen so many people just start yelling and screaming, instructors, and just screaming at people, and they lose them right and left. And they're like, why did I lose them? I'm a good instructor. Yeah, but you got to connect with them.
Yes, sir.
You got to have that connection.
Right.
So that's how I feel about it.
You're very, very right. 100% right. That connection that says that you actually care. I'm not just here just to do just martial arts. I really am here to be here.
Ms. Alter and I, we went, sorry guys, still got those allergies. Ms. Alter and I went to a new church this Sunday. And pastor comes up, we're sitting in the pew before the church started. He came up and introduced himself. And I said, how you doing? I introduced our names and stuff. He said, you guys are new to the area. I said, no, sir. And he said, well, you go to church? I said, well, we've been members of this other church for 31 years. He said, really? I said, yes, sir. And he said, okay. He said, well, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I said, okay. He said, if you decide to join this church or any other church, how about emailing or texting your pastor or telling him where you're at? And I thought to myself, you know what? That's straight up.
That
Because
is.
that's good. He's concerned about the pastors feeling bad. What happened to us? He's concerned about it. If he had that much concern for another pastor, how much concern does he have at his congregation? So are we going back there Sunday? Absolutely. That made my day. That just exactly what I would have said to somebody.
Right.
But that just hit home to me.
Wow.
You know, and
That is pretty
like
cool.
I say, that just kind of. Plus, he was a good preacher. Sermon was good and all. But for him saying that was
Right.
a lot. It really was.
It is a good thing. You're very, very right. It's one of those things where I think the word for that is he's got just good integrity. He's looking at it and going,
He cares about the other preacher.
Exactly.
Not, I got one of your.
right,
You know,
exactly, right.
and that's good.
That is really good. That is really, really good. And when you have a position like that, you know what I mean? I think we get a much more of a taste of it than what most people might even think as instructors, But a position like that, so many people rely on you. You got to be there every single Sunday, and probably much more than that.
Sure.
Everyone's calling you. Doesn't matter if the baby got a cold, if my son fell down and hurt his knee,
Exactly.
or you got to go teach a funeral up in another.
Funny is he had to go teach a funeral. I'm going to go preach a funeral that day.
Yes, sir. They're very busy people. I can't imagine someone in that position who, more often than not, sees some of the darker sides of life. People really feel comfortable telling their secrets and their pains and their traumas to somebody like that. How they constantly maintain a positive outlook on things.
Sure. Yeah, no. And when he said that to me, first thing I thought was, that's the exact same thing I did to students.
Yes, sir.
Like I say, we had students come in from other schools. I'd go out to a seminar, they would come in and join our school. And I knew these instructors, and I'd say, well, I want you to go tell your instructor you're coming to my school.
Right.
I don't want you just to sneak around. Go tell him. I mean, I've lost a few students too, but there for a while, it seems like, I gained quite a few students from other schools. And so those guys were calling me. But I wanted them to know I didn't go out and get them. I wasn't trying to steal your students, that they came in on free will.
Yes, sir.
Plus, he has the right to know.
Yes, sir.
And he did the exact same thing to me in
Yes,
that
sir.
church. And that was just, hey, thumbs up.
Yes, sir. I've always liked that principle. I don't know when I figured out that that's how you do things. Well, actually, I do. I don't know how much of that story I want to tell. There was someone who was in your school who was trying to take students and teach them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And when you're a white belt and someone's saying, you can come over, I'll train you this and that. You're like, oh, cool, we get to go train, And as you get older and you realize that's kind of slimy.
Sure it is.
It's really slimy.
It's underhanded.
It was very underhanded, yes, sir. And I kind of keep that mentality about a lot of things now.
Right.
About, for instance, there was not too long ago, there's something happened at my job where my boss had informed me of something. He said, well, you can get out there and you can say something about this. And I said, well, sure, I'll be happy to do it. I said, but beforehand, I'd like for you to let everyone else know that I'm allowed to say something about this. It's not a disrespectful thing towards you, but it's a respectful thing towards them. I don't want to come out and seem like as if I'm on some type of podium. You know what I mean? If I am on a podium, I'd like for them to see you put me there.
I'm the new guy, gather around.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I've taken what you've taught to so many different places.
Yeah.
There's so many different places that just be respectful of other people, their businesses and stuff. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and when Paul Mike was talking about this title, I didn't know which direction he was going. Because you could take this thing for so 1,000 different directions.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about martial arts, we're talking about church or something, but I mean, it could be somebody that's got a disease or they got some bad news from the doctor.
Right.
And that's totally different. That's just, staying positive or you lose a loved one or something. I mean, that kind of positive is just, that's all full emotions, which we talked about before. That's a different kind of emotions for me, something that severe, I guess. But I'm talking about on the lighter side,
Yes,
or
sir.
the easier side, if you will.
Yes, sir.
But we could go a lot of different directions with this, with that question.
Yeah, absolutely. You could probably do 10 different episodes on this exact topic. Just
We
take.
could do 10 episodes on blueberries.
Yes, sir. It's true. It's I think one thing to really try to stay on that subject, I think maintaining a positive outlook is something that is much easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because right now, to use myself as an example again, so many good things are going on, and one little thing happens, it doesn't seem like much.
Exactly.
But if you've been going through a season, yeah, and I've been through these seasons, I'm sure most people have, where it's like, man, when it rains, it pours. And you start looking, you're like, it's never going to stop raining.
Right.
This is what my life is. It's just constant rain and storms. It's just never going to change. I did see, this is kind of a cliche term, but I like it. I saw this hung up on somebody's house one day that said, life is not necessarily about getting through the storms. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And it's kind of a cliche little term,
Right.
but for some reason it stuck with me. I've always liked that so much that getting through the storm is cool and all, but what you did while you're going through it, I think really does matter a whole lot. It really does. For a different type of example to give, I think most people can understand. If somebody's really hungry, they're really down on their luck if they were to steal a loaf of bread. I think we understand it. But I think we have a lot more understanding and respect for the person who goes out and gets a job to make it work.
Right.
That person's going through a storm, and he didn't let the rain beat him down. He got up and he walked through it.
Exactly. Yeah. I was, I was 12 years old, 13 years old. Me and my dad went to Hardee's it was off Trine Street in Charlotte. We were sitting there one day, and it was, 6 o'clock in the afternoon in the summer. And I saw these two guys. They were kind of rough guys. Grown men, dragging this little boy in there. He's probably 13, 14, maybe 15. He had stole a burger. The burger came out. He grabbed a burger and ran out the door. His clothes were all kind of raggedy and stuff. And so I was sitting there, and I just felt so bad for him. They're waiting for the police to get there. And and so my dad went over there, and I think he tried to talk to him and pay for the hamburger and stuff. And I'll remember that to this day. He was like, I knew he did the wrong thing,
Right.
but it wasn't like he just wanted a hamburger.
Right.
He wasn't stealing a car.
Right,
He wasn't
exactly.
stealing groceries or fur coat.
Right.
He was wanting a 15-cent hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
My dad tried to buy it for those two big guys, and they said, no, he's going to jail. And it wasn't a lot you could do.
Right.
But I remember that to this day.
Yeah, yeah, those are tough times.
Yeah.
But sometimes the consequence
Exactly.
is pretty stout.
Yeah.
For something
Yeah.
that, in the grand scheme of things, relatively light.
Right. Right.
It's pretty tough. Here's Mr. Pool Mike here. He comes in and he says, as we recognize our strengths, we gain confidence, and it gives us a positive outlook in other things we do. Actually, I think you are 100% right in that.
Could you read that again?
I sure will. This is actually pretty deep here. I will read it in two separate sentences.
Okay.
That's the way I understood it, at least.
That pool mine gets deep.
It says, as we recognize our strengths, we gain confidence, and it gives us a positive outlook in other things we do.
The expression, you grow into perfection. That's what he's talking about.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Right.
And you practice and practice and practice, and you grow into perfection. Same thing there. You grow in knowledge,
sir.
and you grow in confidence. It all goes together.
It really does.
That's what first thing comes to my mind.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's I know we do this all the time, but this is how I think. It's not just words on a podcast. I really do think this way. Everything in my life, I'm like, that's just like martial arts.
It is.
Just like,
And that's how I look at everything.
Yes, sir. That's everything.
I've handled everything just like I would at my school.
yes, sir.
He's sitting in the store or whatever, something comes up, that's how you handle it.
Yes, sir.
You know.
Yeah, I can make a head of cabbage on a frying pan. It's just I'll find a way to relate it to martial arts. It just never fails. But he's so right in regards to. I'll read it one more time. It says, when we recognize our strengths, we gain confidence, which is very true. But the part I want to really elaborate on here, where I really agree with him, he says, and it gives us a positive outlook for other things that we do. When we learn things, I'll say let's not say we, but when I learn things, I can really take it to other areas in life. Everything really blends into each
Sure.
other. The things that I've learned in martial arts make me a better driver, makes me a better cook, makes me a better husband, and everything else. And I think he's right in regards to where it makes you look at life more positive because you have more skills to approach life with. When you have, what's the word I want to use for this? Let's just use experience. You have more experience in life. You have a better way of looking around it. When you can look at those things, you see all the other possibilities that are there.
Right.
You know, when you're the little kid who stole the burger, he's like, I'm going to jail. There's no other option for me. I'm going to jail.
I'm sure they probably didn't take it.
Yes, sir.
Probably just scared him. But,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
I didn't know that I was
Yes,
hating
sir.
it for him.
As you get older, though, you realize, like, okay, I'm going to go to jail, maybe, but I'll get out eventually. You know what I mean? I'm probably not going to be in there too long, and I can fix this, and we're going to get around this. It's not going to be fun, but again, I'm not going to sit here and let the storm beat me down. I'm going to walk through it. But it takes, like he said, these skills to build your confidence.
Read that last part one more time.
Absolutely.
Please.
Yes, sir. As we recognize our strengths, we gain confidence, and it gives us a positive outlook in other things we do.
Yeah. You know, because you feel like, I mean, for me, you know, I did that. It's like Ms. Autry, she'll say, let's do a flower bed or whatever. We design a flower bed. Okay, well, let's do this one.
Right.
We did that. That turned out really good. Let's go a little bit bigger. Let's get some bigger trees for the yard. Let's get some bigger flowers. Same thing, martial arts. I learned a technique. Man, you know what? It took me a long time to learn that technique, but I got it. I'm ready to learn this one.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to learn this one. What happens is you get excited, or I do. Then you challenge yourself. Now I'm going to do it.
Yes, sir.
That's how I take from that.
Very true.
Yeah.
You look at it, I can do this.
I can do this.
If I did that, I know I
If I
can
can do
that.
this through, I can do this choke. I can
Yes,
do
sir.
this gun disarm.
Right.
I can do this, you know.
Right. Might not get it first try,
Right.
but I will get it.
Right.
This is, wow. I almost got goosebumps off of reading that. Ben Hunter comes in and says,
Ben, how you doing, sir?
this is very helpful right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm going to tell you, I know maybe this is getting a little personal and stuff, but Ben takes lessons from me and stuff. Just a great kid. He's a young man. And he took a little break for a while. But he's back training with me and stuff. And I just enjoy him. I really do. I enjoy teaching him. That's what I do. You know, I've taught thousands of students, and that's what I love doing. But he appreciates it more now than he did when he was younger, I bet you. Because he's starting to grow too. He's doing the same thing we're talking about.
Yes,
He's
sir.
grown a lot.
Right.
Now, his dad, I don't know. How you doing, Miss Tony?
Last time I saw a little bit, he was taller than me. He had a mustache.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yes,
He's
sir.
solid. He's,
Yes, sir.
he's a solid boy.
I've always liked him.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so glad that you're finding this helpful for you right now, because to be honest with you, Mr. Ben, it helps me too. You always taught Master Autry to keep a beginner's mind. You've used that term so many times in my life. It just ingrained into my brain. And I try to keep that mentality the best I can about many things, not just martial arts, but for life, a beginner's mind. And so, Mr. Ben, this is not myself up here preaching at you or talking. I'm talking with you. This is my life too. I really want to keep a positive outlook on things. And it's sometimes so much easier said than done. So it doesn't just help you, Mr. Ben. This is helping me too. We're in this together.
And beginner's mind is really, you're just excited. Oh, man, I get to go to martial arts. I get to do a front kick or
Yes,
a
sir.
side kick or whatever. I get to do a punch. Wow, how lucky am I?
Yes, sir.
3 years later, you still got to be the excitement. It's like Master Funakoshi said, you got to stir and put hot water. You
Yes,
got to
sir.
keep that water hot. If you
Yes,
don't,
sir.
it cools down. You got to keep adding hot water to it to make it exciting for you.
Yes, sir.
And that's what he's
Absolutely.
talking about.
You know, that might be a great way to talk about the positive mindset too, because I've noticed it in my life, and I think you mentioned it earlier. Doing things helps you stay positive. I thought about something one day. It was during COVID, and I wasn't doing a whole lot. I wasn't teaching at the time. It was just really kind of gray. You know, that whole year just feels gray. And I was sitting on the couch, and I was looking at a bookshelf or something. A TV was sitting on it. I saw it was just a little layer of dust sitting on that entertainment stand. And I thought about it. I was like, that's me right now. That's me. It isn't moving. It's not doing anything, and yet it's just collecting dust, And when we sit still, life gets dusty, But as long as we continue to move, stir that pot, like you said, it shakes the dust off,
Right.
and that makes things a little bit brighter. If you dust your house, all of a sudden things get really shiny. You know what I mean? If we dust ourselves off, and just get ourselves moving and stir that pot, at least in my experience in life, it has allowed me to look at things much better.
They always tell senior citizens, which I'm one now, but they tell people stay busy, move, stay busy,
Right.
get your mind active. Because if you don't, that's when the fear comes in, and that's when you don't have any confidence. And I've seen guys that are 55, 60 years old, retired, stay home. They don't do anything, and they don't keep their mind sharp. Ms. Archer can tell you, to this day, I can sit in here and sit in that chair right over there. I'll look under martial arts and I'll read for 2 or 3 hours. I'm not even getting up. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 hours. I keep my mind, try to, about martial arts or whatever.
Absolutely.
That's just what I do.
It's so good that you say. My great grandfather lived to 103, and it never failed. I mean, he'd sit on the couch and he had a little cup of chewing tobacco. For his entire life. For 100 years, that man chewed tobacco.
Hey, attaboy.
But he was a big sports fan. He loved baseball.
Yeah.
He loved to play baseball. And even in age 100, 102, 103, he was sitting there and he'd watch his baseball. But every commercial break, he'd get up, he'd walk down the hall, he'd turn around, and he'd come right back, and he'd sit back down. He just stayed moving.
Right.
And when you think about a positive outlook about things, one thing I often wonder about myself is, how am I going to feel when Lord willing, I make it 103, but how do you maintain a positive outlook when you get around that spot? He can't play baseball anymore.
Right.
He's too old to do it. You got something that you love to do, you want to do, and you spent time working towards it, and now all of a sudden you just can't do it anymore. How do you stay positive like that?
It's called reminiscing. I mean, I can't do what I used to do. I mean, I can still teach, and I don't get thrown anymore hardly, but I still teach. But I sit back and I think, man, that was fun. We used to do the judo throws or the locks or the takedown stuff. It was fun.
Yes, sir.
And you think about it, but you do what you can do and enjoy that just as much because you're still doing something.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
wow. Grateful. Miss Archer said grateful.
Exactly. It's all about being grateful.
I've seen, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone look quite as happy as you do when you're at a martial arts school, you're drinking a cup of coffee and just watching people train.
I mean, I love it.
Yes, sir.
You're on the floor, getting to do a couple of techniques or something.
Yes,
it's
sir.
fun because that's been my whole life.
Yes, sir.
I walked in 16 years old, and that's all. I mean, I've done a few part-time jobs, naturally, but that's all I've ever done. But I look at it, things have changed so much. I see the attitudes change, the people change, the techniques have changed, and for the most part, or some part, it's for the best.
Yes, sir.
I'm not one of these old guys that the new stuff is no good. It is. The new techniques do work, but then again, the foundation came from the old techniques.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't for the old guys. We wouldn't be doing it today.
Absolutely. And be thankful for that. Pool Mike gets, he said, Pool Mike gets deep. That's funny. He said, I like to pick friends who are positive and avoid those who are negative, says Pool Mike. And I think that's very true. We all know the term, if you wallow in the mud, you smell like mud, You want to be around the people who are not muddy, I think that's definitely a good way of doing things.
I think most people are that way.
I think so.
I don't want to be around negative people.
No way.
In fact, there's a couple people, you see them come, and you're like, yeah, okay,
Right.
I got to go.
Right, exactly.
Ms. Ultra's calling me.
First time chatter, this comes from Miss Jenny Easter. Miss
Hey, Miss
Easter,
Jenny, how you doing?
hope you've had an excellent day today.
Excuse me.
Easier said than done, but I try and live my life where there is no room for negativity. Every day, I am grateful. Wow. Try to live my life where there's no room for negativity. A lot of times you do have to close that stuff out, And this can come in the shape and form of so many different. This can be negative people. It can be a channel on the TV that you just don't want to hear what they got to say no more.
Right.
There's all sorts of negativity out there, and really, truly, life's got enough of it. We don't need to put it in a cup and drink it all the time. We don't need it.
And it's more now than it was when I was young.
It's fueled.
You open the phone, open the TV, or open the computer.
Right.
It's just all over the place.
It's fueled.
I've never in my life seen, and I'm not trying to get political by no means, but I've never in my life seen so many people with so many different opinions. It used to be kind of this way or kind of that way.
Right.
Now it's just far left, far right, far up, far down, far crazy, far nuts.
Right.
It's just like, people try to top the next person doing something crazy. I was teaching, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I went to one of the schools I was teaching. I think it was Rocky River Elementary School. I think that's where it was. But anyway, so I always say, okay, first thing we always say sir and ma'am. So yes, sir, yes, ma'am. We talk about manners in martial arts. The kid told me, he said, I don't say sir to nobody. I said, okay, well, great. Do me a favor, go and have a seat. He said, well, I said, go have a seat. He said, I don't understand. And I said, well, you can't participate if you can't follow the rules.
Right.
The rules in here are yes, sir, yes, ma'am. There's nothing bad, nothing wrong, but we say, sir and ma'am, to your teachers, to myself, or to other instructors. Well, I don't say, sir. I said, well, go up and see, you know what, we're going to miss you in class. He was like, I don't know, 5th grade, 6th grade. So we were doing some noodle stuff, having a good time, and we were just hooting and hollering. I had Michael Jackson music blast. We were having a good time. He came over to me, he said, hey. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. He said, hey. I said, you mean sir? He said, yes, sir. Can I play now? I said, absolutely. Come on, sir. High five, you got one. I had a great time. But it's just the little things.
Yes, sir.
It's not the big things. I'm hoping to this day he remembered that.
Right.
You know, that's my job.
Yes, sir.
That's my job. It's not to teach him as much, but you want to do that for
Yes,
him.
sir.
You know?
Absolutely. That's so cool. That stuff can really, I can speak from experience. It can change somebody, you know. And that's one good thing about the martial arts schools that we've got is that there's really never any negativity. You know, I think the worst thing that ever happened to me in a martial arts school was I stepped outside and it was raining. You know, it's like the worst thing that could have ever happened, you know. But I think Miss Jenny's right on that, is that if you live a life where if positivity is a hard thing for you, negativity isn't going to help.
Right.
You know, so if we can shut that stuff out,
Right.
that's going to help a lot. I think she's got a really good point in that.
How long has she been training with you?
Ooh.
Put you on the spot. You might not know.
No, that's okay. See, she's a brown belt, so she's got to be over 2 years, maybe even coming up on 3 years
I'd
now.
say 3 years, yeah.
Mhm. She's come a long way.
Actually, her sword's looking pretty good.
Yes, sir. She's come a long way.
Yeah.
So awesome. Miss Connor Rain says, I got to stay positive even when it's hard, because it's not fair to subject a baby to the negativity. It affects more than just you when you're negative.
Spot on.
Spot on.
Wow.
That's not just a baby. That's everybody.
Yeah.
It affects everybody
Exactly.
when you're negative.
Spot on.
Mm-hmm. That cloud can block out a lot of sunshine for a lot of people.
Can.
Wow. That's a very good point, Miss Rain. Sir, we're past 8 o'clock. I know it.
Wow.
So that's just fun.
It is.
That's just a good time.
We need to take this on the road.
Actually, if you want to, we can talk about a couple of things before we get out of here.
All right.
I know it's a little running overboard just a little bit, but Pool Mike, we want to say thank you to you because you gave us the topic for tonight, and we do appreciate that. And we want to let you guys know that we're open to taking topics from anybody and everybody. If you look under this video into the description, you'll see an email address for the channel, and you're more than welcome to email that and give us your ideas or
Absolutely.
anything else that you guys need to talk about. We're here for you, so that's a good thing. Sir, about 50 subscribers, I think, is
really?
when we're allowed to
Go on the road. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we're going to do a couple of streams down the road where we.
That'd be fun.
Yes, sir.
That'd be fun.
Yes, sir.
You know, when I first started doing this, I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But I look every day, so we got a few more viewers. It's not because we're trying to be cool or nothing. It's because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. And I do want to go on the road. We'll go to restaurants and do this.
Right.
Maybe might go to martial arts school, go to your school or something.
That'd be fun.
You know,
That'd be really fun.
Have some students.
Yes, sir. Well, the good thing about this type of stuff is that it's good. It's good to have this. To me, is a positive thing.
It
Come
is.
here and just have just good fellowship with people.
Yeah.
And then the comment we have from Mr. Ben tonight is just
That was good.
said this is very
Yeah.
helpful right
Yeah.
now, and that just makes your world. I got
Yeah.
goosebumps when I
I know.
read that. So.
I tell you, a good kid.
Yes, sir.
Just a good
Well,
kid.
I hope everyone else enjoys this type of stuff too. We enjoy you guys being here. I enjoy your company and your conversation. Sir, thank you so
Thank
very
you, sir.
much for
We
tonight.
appreciate it.
I hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. And
Guys,
we
have a
will-
good night.
Yes, sir.